Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. I am Marcus and today I walk you through a couple of rounds of Moesteiro, demonstrating a 3-player game. The game was kindly provided to me as a review copy by Huch Spiele, so really appreciate that. And I'm not 100% sure if I will be doing a full playthrough today or will only focus on the first couple of rounds. Let's see how things go and maybe I will let you decide if you want me to continue my playthrough or not a little bit later. Before I get started, huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members. You guys are truly amazing. So if you want to support my little channel here, you will definitely find a link to my page on Patreon. You can join me here directly on YouTube. There is this little thanks button beneath this video for a small, maybe not so small donation. Definitely like and subscribe, leave a comment. This also greatly helps the channel. And yeah, I think with that being said, we should be pretty much ready to go. So here you're looking at the setup for a 3-player game. You can play this game from 2 to 4 players. There is no solo mode out there. I think the more the merrier in this kind of game because it really comes with a very interesting dice placing mechanic, and I think it's more fun with more players. But of course then the things can get relatively dense throughout the game, but it also plays relatively nice with just 2 players. And in order to make the situation a little bit more denser, there are basically, we're using some dice from a neutral player. So green is not here in a 3-player game. We are basically using 2 of these dice on these spaces simply, to make things a little bit more tense. In the game, we are architects in charge of teams of workers and master artisans, and we are basically competing for the glory of becoming the most prolific and important architects of their time. And we are pretty much trying to build the monastery of Santa Maria da Vittoria, which is basically been built on this space here on the main game board. So every round we are placing 4 more tiles on this area here of the game board. No matter if players are building this or not, we are really adding 4 more tiles at the end of each of the rounds, and the game is played over a series of 5 rounds, pretty much from 1386 to 1563. It definitely takes some time to build a monastery, but I think, as you might know, these things are simply growing throughout the centuries and so on. Things are basically being built and extended, but it's definitely quite a while. And ultimately we are competing for victory points here, which is a symbol you're seeing here. And you can definitely go above 50 and also over 100, which is not completely unlikely in this game. I have mentioned that I have completed the setup, which is more or less correct. I also already prepared the, let's say, setup for the first round of the game, but there are still 2 or 3 more things left to do. First of all, we are rolling our dice, and by the way, this little figure is not part of the game. It simply helps me once the dice are out to remember where the player colors were. But we are rolling all our dice. We are starting the game with 1 master and 2 of those workers here. So the big one is a master. This is a 1 to 3 die basically, so a little bit more. It's not working too much, but still has some impact on the game. And basically 2 normal dice here for the workers, 1 to 6. So we are rolling those, and we're rolling those for all of the players. And right now what's really mattering is the number of the masters respectively. So we're adding the results of all the masters from all the players. So we have a 2 here from the red player, we have a 3 here from the yellow player, and I really hope you can see that well enough. So we have 3 plus 2 plus the 3 from the blue player. So our initial result for the masters is an 8, which will then define how many lintels and columns or pillars we are adding here. So we are taking this number by half. So we have 4 of those lintels here, so it's very, very limited on what we have available for this round, and we are dividing the number of the masters basically by 3, and we are rounding this down. So I think we are going down to 2 pillars, and it really seems they have, I don't know, cut pencils in parts. It's really weird, but okay, it works, not a problem. The stones are unlimited, so that's at least good news, but these things are definitely highly in demand, and the majority of these resources you are trying to gather in order to build later on parts of the monastery. So basically for this piece here we would need 1 wood, 1 pillar or column, and 1 of those lintels. But I guess then we are good to go. We are starting our first round by moving our round marker in here. Every player now gets 1 piece of wood and 1 piece of stone as a freebie. I will distribute those accordingly. Blue will be the starting player in the very first round, or kind of the starting player, let's put it like this. And this is normally being determined by either who is behind on the strength track, and then basically being on top counts as being behind in this case. So now that we know that blue is first, they have now first dibs on those kings. And this is now really determining the player order for the round in respect to the placement onto the various action spaces on the board. So whoever takes the king with the number 1 will be first. They will get sometimes immediate bonus, sometimes bonus that are, let's say, kicking in a little bit later, for example. But I think in this case, as blue is first, it's not a bad choice to go with Joao II, because they would either grant you a lintel or a pillar, and they're really not easy to get. And in this instance, we may want to check what it is we are trying to build later on. So if blue would be in a position to get 3 wood, we already have 1 wood, that's good, and 1 lintel here. This would give us 1 pillar here. This would give us 15 victory points at the end of this round, but we would also lose some steps on the construction on the crane, but I will come to that a little bit later. So I think it's not a bad choice to go for Joao II here. So this will be the tile for the blue player. They will immediately claim one of these pillars here. Next it's red, and I believe, will they go for a stone? Yeah, there is also a compelling case for a stone actually. So I think, no, we will go for the Joao the third in this case, which would immediately grant them 2 points here on the grain, which definitely will become more important towards the end of the round. And last but not least, it's yellow, and I think they will simply go for a stone Duarte. Now with the actual player order, and yellow is now basically in the lead, they have the lowest number here. We are starting to place our dice onto the various action spaces. So we have here for wood, we can support the village or build the village here. Here we can go to the quarry, here we can do some construction. And yeah, this is now really where the whole interesting dice placement mechanic kicks in of the game. I think yellow wants to grab some of those precious resources down here. So we are placing one of our dice here respectively. And I think we are starting with a normal worker. Again, worker are the smaller dice, the masters are the bigger dice here. And this is very high numbers, and this is where you really have to check out all the dice or the pips of the other players, because this is where the game really gets interesting in respect. Where do I go first? Where do I want to make sure I get my specific resource, for example? This is really a very, very clever and cool mechanic in this game. So this was already the yellow player's first placement. Most likely he's not going to end up here on this space, so that's definitely something which we have to keep in mind. Up next is blue, who has the 4 on his king tile, and his idea was to get some more wood. Not very likely that he will be able to get the tile that he really wants, but at least we need to try, at least, or maybe preparing for the next round to come. I guess in this case he really wants to make sure he is, oh, that's now, no, I think, oh, that's clever. No, I think we are going with our die in here. Normally, again, you will place your dice from left to right, but there are, of course, some special rules to that. So a worker who has the same number as a worker left of this die here would remain where it is. So in this case, we have to place this to the right of the existing die. If that would have been a master with a 2, the master will always push the workers more to the right. If that would have been a 1, then of course, yes, we would have basically placed the 1 in here, and then the green 2 would move over to the right accordingly. But in this case, we basically have to place it where it is. Not very likely that it will end up there, will it? Yeah, there are still masters out there. Yeah, there's definitely one master which could push out the blue player, and then he would be in a really, really tough spot. But let's see about this. Is where the game really gets interesting. Then it's yellow, no, red for their first placement of this round, and I think they will also go to the quarry. They will go in with their red 5, or with their 5 basically. 5 is smaller than a 6, so we are pushing this one over. And yeah, if in a 3-player game, this space here is out of bounds, so 2 more dice can go onto this particular track here. So if it's full, then it's full. Then we are going back to yellow, who still has a high die here with a 5. So I guess we are placing it here onto the wood forest track, because some of the others are a little bit more, let's say, wasteful if you're going there with the high dice, depending a little bit on what it is you are trying to do. But with high dice, you usually try to get to some of the resource tracks, maybe also considering the village here. Again, depending a little bit on what it is we are trying to do. So yeah, in this case, let's stay on target. We are placing our yellow 5 in here. Back to blue, who definitely needs some more construction points. So I think we are placing it here onto this space. What is it called actually? Is it the works? No, it's simply the construction site. Then it's red, and I think, oh, do we want to do something here on the village track? Yeah, let's try to do that. Again, I want to show you as much as possible, not necessarily playing the perfect game here. But yeah, let's do that for red. Then it's back to yellow for the last placement of the round. And we all have our masters still available. So yellow has a master with a value of 3. I think only red has a 2. So I guess they also want some more construction points. You're not just getting the construction points here, you're also getting those stonework tiles, exactly. So yeah, let's place it here. It's a 3, and in this case it's a master 3, which means we are pushing this one over here respectively. And for blue's last placement, I think we also have to send them to the quarry with their master. It's of course a lower value or fewer amount of pips, so we're moving everything here to the right. One more die can go here, but there is also only one more die left from the red player. So I think, do we want some more wood? Do we want steps? Are we going? I think we are not going to build something or not be part of the monastery construction at the end of this round. You cannot do that every round, typically at least. So I think, do we want to prepare for the next round to come maybe? Yeah, let's do that. So we are placing our die here. This is definitely also a problem for the blue player, but why? I'll explain to you in a second. So we are moving everything over here because again it's the master, and masters same value dice always go to the left. And you guessed it right, when we are now resolving those actions basically within the next 15 seconds or so, we are doing this here from left to right. So in this case we can stay here. Maybe let me zoom in some more on this space. Again, we are now resolving all those actions starting with 1, then we are going to 2. You get the idea, and we are doing this now from left to right. So I'm now resolving my first die here, or red is now resolving their first die here. And you see these red dots here. These are basically corresponding to pips on your die. Every time you see a red pip, it means you have to spend something. If you would see a black pip, then it's something that you would gain, but then you're typically adding those pips here onto the labor track here accordingly, and it's not the strength, it's a labor track. I think in the German rules it's Stärke, if I remember that correctly. Might be completely incorrect, doesn't really matter, it's the labor track. So now red has a choice. We can now either basically spend 2 pips, and for each pip we are getting 1 piece of wood. So in this case we could make it relatively simple and say, yeah, why not? Let's go for these 2 woods. We could also spend 2 pips here in order to take an extra step on the food track down here. And for every 2 we are spending, we are getting 1 extra step. And the farther down we get, the more beneficial things will be. And of course we can also mix and match. You might ask yourself now, how should we mix and match? So at least the red player here. So red could say, I want 1 wood and I still want to take 1 step here on the food track. This is where the labor track in comes in. You can now spend labor points in order to virtually increase the pips on your die. So let's say I really want 1 wood and 1 step here on the food track respectively. Then I could spend 1 step in here. I would lose definitely some points. So this is something that you would score at the end of the points depending on where you end up. And then yeah, I could virtually increase the die here. In this case, I'm not really sure with the 2 if this really does make sense. So I think for red, we want to make things simple. We are simply collecting 2 pieces of wood. We are moving it to the area. Then we are removing the die. Of course, the dice are not moving over. They will remain where they are. And this is definitely important. Next would be the green neutral player. We are simply removing the die here. Then it's the blue player. For blue, the situation has somewhat, let's call it, deteriorated, because when they placed their dice in here, they were under this bracket here, which would give them 1 piece of wood per pip. Now they have been pushed from that, so they're now below or beneath this bracket here, so now they have to spend 2 in order to get 1 piece of wood. And if they are really trying to construct the tile they were originally trying to construct, I think they have to bite the bullet. I think we really want 2 pieces of wood. So we get 1 with our 2 pips here. Keep in mind, we are here. Now we would have to spend 2 points on our strength track here in order, and here's a little nasty bug, to get 1 more piece of wood. So this was really bad, but blue really rolled relatively poorly, let's put it like this. But I do think let's try to stay on target here and let's try to collect 2 pieces of wood. For yellow, yes, they also have to spend their pips like crazy for, let's say, 2 for 1 in this case, but at least they have a 5, so they could definitely mix and match. And yeah, do they need a lot of wood? So I think in this case they will no, that's 2. They will go 2 wood. So they have spent 4 of there, or do we only spend 1 wood? So we have 1 point virtually left. What we can do now is, instead of adding virtual pips through moving here, we cannot move beyond 6, by the way, we can also, let's say, forfeit the remaining pips. And no matter how many pips you are forfeiting, you will simply get 1 step here on the strength track respectively. And I think in this case, yellow wants to do that. There's also a possibility for you to completely pass on a die that you have placed here. In this case, you would get 2 steps here on the labor track respectively. But I think in this case, that's not too bad, so yeah, let's leave it like that. So this was already the first action resolved. Let's move down to the village here. So in this case, we can try to build one of these 4 houses that are currently available. They all come with their special requirements. So this house here requires 2 pieces of wood and 1 point on the strength. And yeah, we have placed the 3 here, so in theory we could build them all, no matter what, because again, we can take those strength from our dice we have placed there. Like with the other actions, we could also using virtual dice or virtual pips from our labor track. So I think in this case we want to build this house here. So this would cost us 1 stone and 1 wood. We have that, not a problem. We also have to spend 2 of our pips here. We have 3, which is definitely good. So we are taking this house. We have 1 leftover pip, which will grant us 1 step here on the labor track. And then we have to build the house here respectively. We can only ever build the house in a row where our current marker is on the food track here. So the further down we go, the more rewarding those victory points are here, of course. And there are other good stuff to gain from. So now in this case, I can now really choose, am I okay with only 2 victory points and getting another strength on the labor track, or do I simply want to go for the 5 points? We have just gained 1 step here on the labor track, so I think in this case let's simply place it here. So red is definitely in the lead and has scored the very first 5 points of the game. Hooray! But that's already the action done. Only 1 player went there. Let's move over to the quarry, where things are a little bit more interesting, I would say. Again, we are starting from left to right, so the blue player here. For 1 pip, you can gain a stone. So in this case, blue could go for 3 stones. Easy as that. For 2 pips, we get 1 of those lintels. For 3 pips, we are getting 1 of those pillars. So this is now an interesting one. And I think we want 1 lintel for 1. And I think in this case, we are simply taking 1 stone. Like with all the other actions, I could spend virtual points, but because blue already has lost a significant amount of points, let's not do that just yet. Let's simply grab those resources and bring them over here. So they're in a okay shape resource-wise. Let's remove the die accordingly. Let's move over to red, who has significantly more points left. The question is, what do we want for them? Yeah, getting these things is definitely not unimportant. And red just spent an awful lot of stone. So we are definitely taking 1 of those pillars. So that's 3 points. And I think we will simply go for 2 stones. which are 5 points. Do we want to spend now strength points? But we are really at 5 now, right? So this is 3 plus 2, that's 5. No, let's leave it here. I think that's fine. I think red wasn't really going to go for construction this round anyway. So let's call it good. And then last but not least, we have the 6 here. Question is, what do they want to do? I think we also want a pillar here. That's 5. That's 3, that's 5, and let's also go with 1 more stone. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. This already concludes this action here as well. Let's move over to the construction side, where things are a little bit different. Again, we are starting from left to right though, so the green die is out of here. Doesn't do anything. The 3 from the yellow player here will simply grant them these, what are those called? Stonework tiles. And those stonework tiles, sometimes you need them for, let's say, in some of the village tiles, for example, like this one here. In another set of those monastery tiles, there are also requirements who are asking for either these stonework tiles or for these, what the others are, glass tiles, stained glass tiles. I'm playing with the green tile set, which I think only comes with some basic resources here. Later on, if you're really an advanced player, you can even shuffle these things together. And sorry if my voice is failing every now and then. I'm still suffering from a cold somewhat. But in this case, again, we have collected, or yellow has collected, this stonework tile. And maybe I should also mention there's also a set collection element of the game. If we are getting a set of all 5 different tiles out there, including stonework tiles and these stained glass tiles here, there's exactly 5 different types available. You would score 25 points for those. If you only have 4 different ones, it's 4 times 4, it's 16, and so on. You get the idea. So this is really a great way to score you a lot of points. But that's not all. Yellow will also get 2 more construction points here, which again we typically need later on for building those monastery tiles. So this was this die here gone. Then we are moving over to blue. Same rule applies. We are taking this stonework tile here, and we are also only ever getting 2 more steps in here, which worked perfectly for the blue player, but I explain that a little bit later. Next we go to the stained glass section here. Right now none of the players have placed any dice here, and that is depending a little bit again on the tile set that is available that you're playing with, and also depending a little bit on the round you're playing. At the start of the game it may not be as necessary. If you really have a die left and you don't have anything left to do, then yes, definitely go there, grab yourself one of those stained glasses here, because again they will also help you to complete your set collection. You want 5 different ones, and you can have multiple sets of course, but at this point in the game, yeah, I have decided not to place any tiles in there or any dice in there, but we will definitely see that. So those were now all the normal worker or dice placement action slots. Now we are finally constructing the monastery. So we are basically looking at the crane here. We are looking at the monastery tiles that are available, and yeah, this is really only cosmetics basically, where we then later on place those tiles. Now again we will start from the lowest position to the highest position. Then if we are on the same space, we are starting from top down to the bottom. So in this case blue has first dibs on which of these monastery tiles they will try to build. And I think we have exactly enough. There is also a king here, that's Manuel the First. He would grant you the first build no matter on where you are on the grain. With this one here you will be able to build first. So this can be very, very crucial a little bit later throughout the game. For the very first round, maybe not so much. So in this case, again, the idea was to score as many points as possible. So I guess we are going for this tile, or blue is going for this tile. In order to build this tile in full, there is also always a chance to only partially fulfill those tiles, but you always have to spend those construction points. That's something that's not 100% clear in the rules, but have been kindly answered by the designers of the game. It's clear that you have to spend those, but it's not so clear if they are really a hard requirement. So can you still partially fulfill a tile without spending those steps here? And it seems you have to definitely be able to spend those points. But okay, we are good. So we are spending 3 points of 3 pieces of wood. and one of our pillars, which is basically the pillar we have gotten from Joao II in this case. And now, of course, we also have to spend the 4 construction points, which blue luckily got. So we are moving all the way down to 0. But now we have fully satisfied the demands of this tile, which means blue is scoring 15 points. Nicely done. Then up next would be yellow. And maybe before we do, let's place the tile here. So here it says 13. So we are placing the tile in here. This will really look very nice towards the end of the game. But again, next it's yellow, and they also have a choice if they want to build something or not. They really have an awful lot of resources, so I think we should be in a good position to build this tile in here. Yeah, I think so, and I think this is even beneficial. So we only have to spend 2 of our construction points, and maybe this is something that blue should have considered, but they really wanted the most points. Simple as that. So we have to spend 2 wood. We also have to spend our lintel and our column. So it's definitely also more expensive. So we're not spending as many construction points, but we are definitely spending more valuable resources. That is, we are also losing 2 points. We are building this monastery tiles for 14 points, which of course is also not too bad. And then we are building this tile here respectively. This is the 5, moving it over there. Let's remove those. And last but not least, it's the red player. And I think they can't build neither of those. So we can still debate now if we want to partially complete those tiles. Again, we still have to spend those construction points, and then for every resource we are now able to spend, we would get simply 3 points. So that's basically depicted over here. Question is, we could spend 1 stone and 1 thing. The problem is, do I really want 6 points now and really spend the valuable 3 construction points? That's really the problem for 6 points and some resources. Are we simply saying we will wait for the next round and maybe we'll focus on other things? Again, there are other ways how you can score points, either through the set collection element of the game or through building village tiles. You get the idea. Or we can simply go for a more powerful working action next round, and then we still have some construction points left. So I think let's do that instead. So red is basically passing. We are still building those tiles over here. So that's the 1, that's the 17. These go in here. We will always have 4 new tiles available. And maybe quickly I should mention this space in here. If someone would have managed to move up here to the highest space on the grain, they could now spend one whatever strength point from the labor track to get a stone or a wood or a lintel or a pillar here for 2 or 3 respectively. So this can really give you some last resort kind of resources if you are able to make it up here, which doesn't happen too often, but yes, it definitely can. So that's basically the end of the round. There is some cleanup left to do. We are removing all the remaining village tiles here, so we will also bring out new tiles. These all move here to the left. I think factually you do that at the start of the next round, but I think you get the idea. We are bringing out new tiles here respectively. So here are really some new tiles, and again, you want different kind of sets. So for example, the yellow player who already has this one might want to go for this or this tile here, for example. So something that now the game really starts to get interesting. We would also do the same for the stained classes. They would all move down here. We have taken any one of those. We are also removing or returning those king tiles here, so they will be available in full at the start of the next round. We will bring out new monastery tiles respectively. Again, we are still in stage 1. They are a little bit easier to fulfill in respect to the requirements. Later on we will have tiles that say stage 2, and then they will score up to 20 points or so, I believe. So for now we are in between whatever 10 to 15, but this is definitely a lower scoring one, but also doesn't really require that many resources. And I think last but not least, we need to refill the village tiles here accordingly. This doesn't come with any requirements, but you still need to spend 4 strength points, either through your dice or through your labor track. And yes, in theory you can also go for more village tiles, but in this case you also have to send in more dice. So with 1 die I could not go for whatever, take a 6 die here and really go crazy on all of those village tiles. This is really something that you do die by die. So I think the last thing to do is to determine the new player order. And in this case, we start with blue, then it's red, then it's yellow. And as usual, oh no, maybe I shouldn't forget, of course, we are also moving this in here, which now gives us the choice of moving on 2 tracks respectively. So we get 2 steps, but we have to spread them over 2 different tracks. It's 1 and 1. At least I think you have to really spread them. I cannot go 2 steps on the food track, for example. So I think, yeah, when we do that in the player order, again, starting with blue, and I guess they want more strength points back. Not would it only get us 3 points if we would end here on this space at the end of the game. And then I think for the second one, we can also go on the strength track. We are really out of strength, so I guess, yeah, let's do that. And I'm not sure why I said strength. This is the crane. Let's move here on the crane. We need some points here back in order to prepare us for this or maybe the next round to come. Then it's red, who has the same choice, and I think we are moving in here, and I'm really, at least I hope that I'm correct, that you have to distribute these to 2 different tracks. The rules are not that specific, and I haven't really found an entry on the, maybe there is one. So if I mess this one up, then bear with me here. That's then totally on me. There are really some minor rule unclarities. Not really ambiguities, really unclarities in the rules. The vast majority of the rules are crystal clear. Some minor things, unfortunately, are not. So I think in this case, they are all already good strength-wise. Are they? Yeah, let's go one more step here on the crane respectively. Again, this is something where you always have to spend something if you want to build those. So I guess going up here wouldn't hurt. And then it's yellow, and I think yellow will definitely also go 1 step up here. They have spent some points here, that's important, and I think they will also progress here on the labor track. Okay, now we are rolling our dice, and again we have to set or prepare the quarry. All what's left in the quarry has to be removed. I forgot that, apologies for that. So let's roll the dice for all the players. So here is blue, and here are yellow and red respectively. Wow, that's really a crappy roll. 2 2s, 1 and a 2. The masters are all on 1. So in total, our sum of the masters is only a 4, which means we are only adding 1 column here and 2 of those lintels. Again, stones are always, or stone is indefinitely available here. Yeah, that's that. Now we are choosing our kings, again starting with blue. So again, there is a good case getting some of those pillars out. So going for Joao II, and Joao III might be really crucial for the blue player though, getting some more construction points back. Maybe that's what we want to do. Yeah, blue will go for Joao III, which will give them 2 more points right back. Then it's red, and I think, yeah, they will go for Joao II because they don't have really very strong dice, so they will go for a lintel here accordingly, because getting those at the quarry is really prohibitively expensive, and with only 1s and 2s, that's not great. And last but not least, what are we going to do with yellow? Do we want to be first for the construction? No, I don't think so, because they're all pretty much the same. Here it really doesn't matter too much if we're going for 10 or 11 points. If there would have been now one tile with 20 and the lowest one would be a 10, then yes, there is definitely a case. But I think in this case, being first during this round is not the most important thing. So I guess we are simply going for the 3 points. Yeah, why not? Let's do that and score the 1, 2, 3 points here respectively. And by the way, those dice will enter the game a little bit later. At the start of the next round, each player will get another worker. At the start of the 4th round, we are replacing one of our workers with another master. And at the end of the game, during the last round, we are losing 1 more worker. So the last round is usually very tense, because you are back down to only 3 dice, and 2 of those dice are masters, which really do not grant you an awful lot of resources, but really makes the game so much more crunchy. So we have all now chosen our kings. Yellow has selected the lowest one, Alfonso V, which is a 2, so they are starting to place the die. And I guess they want to get in here. But one thing I forgot, of course, I have to roll for the neutral player. So this is here, that's a 1, and down there it's a 6. Okay, it is what it is, but I think it doesn't really change a lot of things. The yellow player wants to go in here with their master because they want to make sure to grab this relatively inexpensive village tile here, which would definitely score them at least some more points. Then it's red, exactly. And I believe, they want, no, they go with their 1 in here. Let's do that. So they're pushing over the neutral player. But again, the neutral player is only here to block them spaces here. Apart from that, they're not really doing an awful lot. Maybe, yeah, in this case, they can mess up your, let's say, tile selection if you aren't that lucky. But that's really part of the fun of this game. Yeah, time you to move your placements accordingly and hope that the other players don't get in your way. And then it's blue. And I do think they want some more wood. Yeah, let's try that. It will be again expensive, I'm afraid, but yeah, let's go there anyway. Then we are moving back to yellow, and for them it really depends now. I think, will they go in here? Will they build this round? That's the question. They could, potentially they could. So let's go in here with their 2, and for red I think they want, that's now an interesting one. I think I should have placed my 1 in here actually, the red player, but in this case let's place the 1 master in here, grabbing ourselves one of those stained glass windows. And we get the first one basically for free, but I will come to that a little bit later. Second die for blue, and honestly I do think they also want to grab one of those stained glass windows, so they will place their master die over 2 here. Again, this is mainly in this, let's say, playing with this tile set here, we need those really to prepare our set. If you ever play with the blue tile set, maybe let me find one of those more advanced tiles. For example, this is a tile where you would also have to spend steps on the food track in order to fully fulfill this. No, of course I wasn't able to show you one. Here is one, of course. Here's one of those tiles. So this one here, in order to complete this, you will have to spend one of your either stained glass or stonework holes, but it's worth 17 victory points. Definitely not bad. So these are the more advanced tiles. But again, playing with the green tile set, you typically use those for your set collection towards the end of the game. Then we are moving back to yellow, and I think they want to go in here with their 2. Either grabbing some stones, maybe a lintel. They could spend strength in order to go for a column, for example. Again, you can spend more than 1 point, but you cannot increase your die more than the virtual 6. Last die for red, and I think again they want to annoy the blue player here respectively. I mean, they really didn't think that this would be the end state here, that they would, with their 4 remaining here, this would be insane, of course. But yeah, I think it's also beneficial for the red player. So it's not just to annoy the other players in this case. But then it is blue, and in theory, again, blue could send their second die in here. I'm moving something like this. You would always resolve those dice 1 by 1. So it's not in total a die value of 6. It doesn't really change a lot of things anyway. But you do that 1 by 1. In some other areas it could matter when it's basically important for the player order. What do we do though with our last die? We could still, yeah, I think there is a good case going to the construction site here respectively, because blue doesn't have that stoneworks tile here, so we can extend our set basically in a meaningful way. So I think those were all of the placements. Next we are resolving our sides, starting with 1. Green doesn't do anything, of course, and then it's red. And do we want, I mean, we have woods, but we could gain more wood, right? I mean, 2 woods, we could, I think this would give us some more freedom. Let's do that instead. No, that's fine. We will go with 2 wood here for the red player. Then it's blue, and yeah, I think they definitely need some more wood there. Yeah, they have spent it all. And yeah, let's simply go for 2 woods. Yeah, let's do that. I think it's still important. I'm not really doing particularly well on the food track here. Again, the farther you go down, the more promising those rewards will be, and you get definitely, I mean, you get another step on the food track here. You would gain 1 either stone a stained glass or a stonemason tile or whatever those are referred to. They can be really, really powerful. But yeah, right now no one was really going there. Then it's the village. Only the yellow player went there, and I think, yeah, this is absolutely a no-brainer. We are spending our wood, we are spending our die. We need 1 strength. We have 1 strength here, so we are placing it. It has to go into the first row here. Again, when you are down here, you can select the same row or the row above, of course, or rows above. Of course, so I think in this case, yeah, let's simply go for the 4 victory points, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Also a way to score you some nice little points. Yeah, then it's down here, and I think this is where I made a mistake. I really should have sent the yellow die up to the wood, because they have a lot of stone. So in this case, I will simply only go for a lintel. I don't know. That seems a little bit wasteful, but I also don't want to spend now 3 points for another pillar, or maybe 2 points. I mean, we have it, but still, I don't know. Yeah, I think that was a mistake sending it here. But yeah, playing this for 3 players, definitely a nightmare. So I'm not taking things back here, of course. Let's move over to the construction side. So here we have 1 for the red player. So they're taking this one and they're getting 1 step up here. Nicely done. Then it's yellow. They will gain this one here. Works pretty well from them. They will get 2 points here respectively. This was on a 3. Yeah, this was on a 3. So also nicely. And so they already have 2 different tiles. And that's right now 2 by 2. That's 4 points at the end of the game for this set. Then it's the blue player. They are grabbing this, also claiming 2 more steps here. And yeah, this is simply getting removed, and we will hopefully remember to roll that die. We can immediately roll everything over here to prepare for the next round. Then we are moving over to the stained glass. Again, we are starting here. We are looking basically from top down to bottom and counting the red pips we are moving over. Right now there is no yet red pip, so this is basically for free. So the red player gets this tile here basically for free. They had 1 die. You have to play 1 pip in here, but definitely more than enough. And again, this also helps with the set here. Then it's blue. Now we have to count 1 and 2. Luckily we had a 2 here, so blue is allowed to grab this tile. If there would have been a 3rd die now here, they would have to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 strength points. But whoever gets the topmost stained glass tile also gets a step on the food track, which is not bad. But right now blue has collected the 3rd piece of their set, so that could be 9 points in total at the end of the game. It's 3 times 3 in this case. The next one would be 4, 4 times 4, and so on. You get the idea. Let's also not forget to move this one down here. And for the stained glass, there are only 2 different types. There are these floral, and then there are these 2 guys here. There are not more than that. And again, we have 3 different tiles on the stoneworks down there. Last but not least, we are constructing, and again we are starting with the blue player, and in theory they could actually build this one here. They could also go for this one here, which would save them something. No, we don't have a column. No, I think, oh, that's perfect for blue. 1 and 2 stones. We have to spend 1, 2, 3 construction points here, and this will score them 11 points. Nice. 10, 11. Nicely done. So let's not forget to place the tile here respectively. Again, this will look very, very nice towards the end of the game. Next, it's yellow actually, and I believe they can't build anything. No, they're missing out on this one here. They have 3 stone and 1 lintel. Yeah, this doesn't really help. Again, we can partially fulfill thing, and you can do that to also get in the way of the other players. So if they want, they can go for this one, just scoring 3 points for 2, and this would definitely mess up. Maybe we should do that actually, but no, I think there is another tile that they could fulfill. So in this case, they could go for this one here. Do we want to do that or not? That's the question now, for 3 measly points for this piece, right? But we would also spend our construction points here. And just to show that to you, I will do that. So we are spending our 2 construction points, 1 and 2. We are spending our lintel, and that's basically 3 points for the yellow player. 1, 2, and 3. Let's build it. That's the 6. This goes down here. Is that correct? Yeah, this seems to be correct. And then it's red. And yeah, I think they want to build this one here. 1 stone, 1 column, 1 lintel here respectively. They have to spend 2 construction points for this tile. This is the 14 and will grant them 10 points, moving them to 15. As usual, the remaining tiles will be placed no matter what, and that concludes the second round of the game. And I think with that, I will end my walkthrough for today. Let's maybe quickly return those tiles here respectively. So I think you really have seen now basically or nearly everything that the game has to offer. Yes, I didn't show you this conversion here, but apart from that, I think I showed you everything. Again, towards the end of the game, you will score your points here for your set collection. You will score some points here on where you are on the labor track, which is then also the tiebreaker here. Let me know if you want me to continue my playthrough of Moesteiro, so that I think with my next video I should be able to complete it. So I think I explained all the mechanics here, so as of now things should progress fairly well or much quicker than the first 2 rounds before. So again, let me know. Yeah, I really hope that you have enjoyed my little walkthrough here, that you got an idea of how to play this game. Again, not how to play it well, that's not why I'm here, but yeah, it really comes with a lot of very interesting decisions in respect to timing. Where do I go first? Which die do I place where? What about those tiles? Will I focus on the village? Really very easy and straightforward rules. It also doesn't play extensively long. I think with 3 players you should be really through in about 60 minutes or so, and I think if you really get more and more experience, you should be even faster than that. But definitely a very cool and clever little game. Again, the rules at some points are not as clear as they could be, especially because it's a relatively easy and simple game. So I really would have hoped they would have put in more either examples or more clarifications. The designers are very eager answering questions on the Geek, so that's a good thing. So I guess most of my questions, or basically all of my questions, have been answered. And I really had basically 2 versions of the rules. I mean, in theory I also have the Portuguese version of the rules, which really doesn't help me, but I have German and the English rules to help me through. And even with those 2, I still had, let's say, the occasional 2 or 3 questions. Again, nothing major. The game is fully playable. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. And yeah, until then, bye bye.